Hey, thanks for joining in. Welcome to the Prize Podcast, where we talk about how sports and the Christian worldview intersect one another. I'm Kyle. It's good to have you back on the show today so that we can talk about our daily prize of the day. Our daily prize day is about Shedeur Sanders. I talked a little bit about the NFL draft on Friday concerning Travis Hunter for a little bit for our daily prize. Now we're going to talk about the other Colorado teammate, former Colorado teammate. That is Shedeur Sanders, who is the son of Deion Sanders. Shedeur had a really good season, has had really kind of like a very popular past two seasons, being followed by many because of his dad's status at Colorado. But Shedeur's been decent on the field. But some NFL executives and NFL people who interviewed him did not think they were too, or they were not too excited about him, or maybe not too impressed with him. So, with that being said, what's really crazy about this past weekend is that Shedeur Sanders did not go in the top 10 as many of the draft experts believed. Instead of going near the top, he went, instead of being like the second or third pick, which is what some possibly would have expected. But instead, the NFL deemed him to be 144th pick. Now, how did we get here? How did we get from being a top tier pick to now being the 144th pick in the NFL draft? Well, I think there's a couple of different reasons for that. Number one, the Tennessee Titans really needed a quarterback and they wanted Cam Ward. I think for a lot of people, they felt like Cam Ward was more of the proven quarterback and had a little bit of a better record and a little bit of a better status coming out of Miami. And so I think that's the reason why he got chosen first. And there was really no doubt about that. I think that was pretty much evident that he was going to get picked number one. Now, the biggest thing was going to be, all right, what did the Jacksonville, what does the Cleveland Browns do? Well, we learned this past Friday night, or actually Thursday night, they traded. And so then Travis Hunter got picked up, which was a fantastic pick in my opinion. But then we get into further and other quarterbacks were drafted. In fact, even for the Cleveland Browns, who did end up selecting Shedeur Sanders at 144th, the crazy thing was they picked another quarterback before they even got to Shedeur. On ESPN.com, it was pretty much the whole entire time during the draft before he got drafted, he was the best available pick by those draft people. And some people really questioned, the NFL teams. Well, why are they not drafting him? Why are they not getting him? Well, there's a couple of reasons that are highlighted in an article on ESPN about why he didn't get drafted so early. Well, number one is the quarterback issue. Number two, if you don't really, and this is something I agreed with someone that said this morning, if you don't draft a quarterback in the first round and you are a quarterback, and let's say like they pass on you, there's a good chance you may not make it to the second round. In fact, there's been a statistical average that, or there was a statistic that was said that I can't remember how long it's been, but it's been a long time since there's been a quarterback picked. Well, not super long because it was Will Levis. He got picked in the second round, and I can't remember the year, but he did get picked in the second round. But outside of the first round, you really don't see another quarterback picked until you get to third, fourth, fifth round, because there's a lot of emphasis and money being put on offensive linemen, defensive linemen, edge rushers, just all the different things like that. So there was all of that set in place by the Cleveland Browns. But they drafted Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon before they even got to Shedeur Sanders. So a lot to take in with this. But Shedeur Sanders is pretty confident. He even talked about just being ready to prove himself. But one of the reasons people didn't draft him is because a lot of NFL executives did not like his work ethic. There was reports said that he was told to essentially be ready to discuss a playbook or discuss plays. I'm just kind of speaking in my own terms, and he wasn't ready. Some people thought he came across as arrogant or just kind of like flying off the seat of his pants. And some people were saying, well, he played for his dad, so does he really know how to have a good work ethic? So his work ethic was questioned, all the different things like that. Good or bad, that's the perception that he was given. Am I saying it's right? No. Am I saying it's wrong? No, I'm not. I think there's definitely something here we need to consider. But what I would say in the long run is this. There's a couple things that I learned from this draft. And what I've learned a lot is that number one, talent is a big deal, but even more in the NFL, hard work and creative work is huge. You have to be a player who is considered um, disciplined and one who is going to continue doing the toil and work of an NFL superstar or even just a typical NFL player. Um, Even the lowest rated NFL player must have discipline in order to stay in the NFL and to have the rigor of that schedule. And the schedule is longer now. With being added extra weeks, you get into playoffs. The season doesn't end until the second week of February now. So you have all those things to take into play. Now, with that being said, with Shedeur Sanders, he's got a lot to prove. And so we're going to see if he can prove it. We're going to see if he can prove that he is a diligent worker and really to see if he's going to be better than some of the other quarterbacks on the Cleveland Browns. He's got to compete with Dylan Gabriel. He's going to have to compete with a 40-year-old Joe Flacco who's still got some in the tank. Um, and you've got all these different other the other one. Kenny Pickett, that's the other guy. Kenny Pickett is also the other one that is playing for Cleveland. And so with all that being said, hard work is important. You can't be lazy, you can't be idle. And I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders is lazy or idle. I'm by no means saying that. But the perception was that he was not a hard worker and that he was just coming in thinking, okay, I'm a top 10 draft pick. I'm going to be okay. That was the perception. So we got to be careful. I'm not saying that he isn't a hard worker. There's a reason he played for Colorado and did well for a lot of those games. Now, did he get sacked a lot? Sure. You can go through all the statistics, but he is a good athlete. Is he better than Deion? No. Or could you make a comparison? No, Deion was a freak athlete. I think that Deion's totally different. I think it's important for us to highlight in Christianity and in the gospel worldview how important work is. Sometimes when we think about work, we think about it being related to the fall, and some of that is a kind of connected because if you go back to Genesis 3, you'll see that one of the curses of humanity is that when it comes to directing towards the man, that they would have to work from the sweat of their brow. Work would become more tiresome. It would be more toil on the body. So that is a result of the fall. Now, with that being said, is work a bad thing? No. I believe work is a very good thing. I believe work is a great thing. In fact, Paul is very much fighting in a situation. And what I mean by fighting, I mean that he is arguing his point how much it is important for our Christian witness to imitate people who exemplify hard work, labor, and toil in the ministry. This is something I've been learning in my study of Second Thessalonians. And again, if you've been walking with me through this, it's been a really great experience. But one of the things that he says in here is he says, for we hear that there are some among you who are idle. That word for idle means undisciplined. It's someone who is acting in maybe an act of laziness, maybe one who is denying the power of God but still trying to give the appearance that they are walking in godliness, as it talks about in 2 Timothy 3, 3:5. And so I think it's important for us as Christians today is to remember that our work and our toil and the stuff that we do, there are some aspects of it that are tough. And no one's denying that. And maybe for some of you, that's been your case. Is there's things that you look in your life like, man, this is really, really tough. But also realize the blessing of it. Realize the blessing of the work that you've been given is from God. It's something He's commanded you to do. And in fact, it's one of the things that Paul brings up. He says, if anyone isn't willing to work, he should not eat. Um, you know, Paul made a big deal like, hey, I could have really demanded support. And, Paul was given a lot of support by churches, but he made a big deal about working and toiling for the gospel and being a servant. And so I think it's important that we have that mindset because sometimes the perception from culture is that maybe Christians are not hard workers. Um, because they maybe they have this spiritual perspective where they're like, well, I'm good with God, so I don't really have to do some of these things. I think it's important for students. It's something I tell my students all the time. You need to be ready to work hard in school, because that is a testimony to others. If you are a bad student at school, but then you claim to be a Christian, that is bad for your witness. If you are bad in the workplace, but you claim to be a follower of Christ, and you go to church, and the visitor sees you and they're like, wait, he goes here, like, that can be a really rough witness. And I would make the argument that there's going to be work in heaven. There's going to be things we're going to do where we'll get to serve the Lord day and night, as it talks about in Revelation 21 through 22, in the New Jerusalem with the new heavens and new earth. So with all that being said, in relation to the Shedeur Sanders thing, I think one thing we're going to see is what does his obedience look like? And when I mean by obedience, what is a discipline going to look like when it concerns walking into the NFL? Is it going to be the same? Is it going to be complete? Or will he be idle? And will the draft people be proven right? My hope is that he will come in and will make a big impact for the Browns. Maybe not too much of an impact for the Browns, because I love my Steelers. But I do hope that he has the best. I hate that he had that prank call against him. I do not think that was funny. It was absolutely crazy. And so I hope he does well, and keeps the discipline. My hope for you today as a Christian is you would keep disciplined in your work, knowing that Jesus will return. Thank you for joining in on the Prize Podcast. This is Kyle Hunsinger. I appreciate you joining in. If you would like to know more information about me, you can look at me over on Twitter, or now known as X, at KMoneyDH. And then you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Just look up Kyle Hunsinger. You'll find me. And then the other one is email me for any questions at pursuetheprize@gmail.com. It's been a pleasure of having you on this show, the Prize Podcast. We'll see you later. Take care.